Look, 90% of the guys at the range think you need to drop 3,000 on a boutique European rig just to group your shots at 100 yards. And honestly, that old mindset is bleeding their bank accounts completely dry. They are out there chasing status symbols, totally ignoring the raw ballistic data. You think Turkish air rifles are just cheap entry-level toys for throwing lead in the backyard? You are dead wrong. Here is the real deal. Reximex is absolutely tearing up the industry in 2026. They are packing their guns with massive carbon fiber bottoms, precision balanced valves, and enormous power plenums that completely disrupt the entire market. These are not plastic toys. These are absolute tack drivers built for serious terminal ballistics. Stop buying overpriced Safe Queens just because of the fancy European logo stamped on the side of the action block. If you want mouse fart, quiet performance, and extreme accuracy without taking out a second mortgage, you need to pay attention. We are locking in the top 7 most underrated Reximex air platforms right now. Next up at number 7, we have the Reximex Lieva. This is not your standard airgun platform. Reximex completely flipped the script here by building a faux leather wrapped under lever action that feels like a classic cowboy gun. The lever cycles smooth as glass, and when you pull the trigger, the hammer drops with a dead dull thud. But underneath that traditional look is a seriously inverted mechanical layout. The 105 CCS air cylinder is actually mounted directly above the 19-inch rifled barrel, because the entire action is upside down. You have to shove the rotary magazine into the very bottom of the block. Spitting .22 caliber lead. This rig gives you about 60 consistent shots per fill-off a 200 bar charge. Stepping out into the woods, the handling shines when you need absolute speed. The downward throw of that underlever naturally pulls the stock tight into your shoulder for lightning-fast follow-up shots on moving pests. It pushes 25 cal pellets with up to 23 foot-pounds of energy for devastating terminal ballistics. Feather light at just under 7 pounds, the damage to your wallet is also incredibly light compared to the big European brands. Look, I know what you are thinking, but here is the ugly truth about the factory setup. The front post sight is cast directly into the barrel band that ties the barrel to the pressurized air cylinder. Any pressure or adjustment to that band alters the tension on the barrel. This completely destroys your barrel harmonics because the steel cannot vibrate naturally as the pellet travels down the bore. To get real accuracy out of this thing, you have to completely rip off that barrel band and mount a piece of high-performance glass to let that barrel free float. Moving on to number 6, we are looking at the Reximex Tormenta Lite. This rig is built specifically for guys who need absolute maximum mobility. It strips away all the unnecessary bulk and gives you a pure, ultra-compact truck gun that tips the scales at a feather-light 6.17 pounds. Slings .22 caliber, lead with enough kinetic energy to completely neutralize small game in tight spaces. Squeezing the trigger on this tiny platform, it snaps like breaking a dry popsicle stick in half. The firing report sounds like a sharp crack of a leather whip. You get that signature high-visibility yellow rotary magazine so you never lose track of your ammo count when you are deep in the brush. Let us talk about how it manages its air. This platform utilizes a highly efficient adjustable power wheel mechanism directly linked to the transfer port. Instead of taking the whole gun apart to change the hammer spring, you simply rotate the external dial to restrict or open the airflow. By choking off that transfer port, you can drop the velocity for backyard pest control, and then crank it wide open when you step into the timber. But here is the massive trade-off you have to accept. To keep this AR-style chassis so incredibly light, they strapped it with a tiny 130cc air cylinder. If you run this rig on maximum power, the air drops extremely fast. You are only going to squeeze out about 65 shots per fill before the velocity falls right off a cliff. You better pack a hand pump or a buddy bottle if you plan on hunting all day. Stepping into the serious mid-tier hunting rigs, we are looking at number 5. This is a highly capable semi-bullpup. But wait until you see the absolute bench rest monster we have sitting at number 1. The Reximex Zone brings a 22.8-inch barrel into a compact 35.4-inch total package. You get the full velocity of a long barrel without swinging a flagpole through the brush. Spits 2.5 cal lead downrange with over 40 foot-pounds of energy. Squeezing the match trigger, it snaps like a crisp piece of celery. The firing report sounds like a heavy pneumatic staple gun driving into oak. Sets you back around 560 pounds, making it a very accessible target shooter. Let us talk about the internal pneumatics. This rifle utilizes a 260cc aluminum air cylinder paired directly with a specialized internal regulator. Instead of relying on a dropping pressure curve, the regulator completely isolates a small pocket of air at exactly 140 bar, because that valve gets the exact same pressure every single time the hammer strikes. You get incredible ballistic consistency that puts half-inch groups on paper at 40 yards. But we need to be honest about the build quality on the synthetic model. It weighs a very manageable 7.2 pounds. But the cheek riser adjustment is an absolute joke. Instead of a solid mechanical wheel or a push button, they just hand you cheap 3mm plastic spacers to stack under the comb. It feels incredibly flimsy, and shifting those plastic pieces around in the field will definitely test your patience. Look, I know the traditional sporter guys will doubt this compact layout. Sound off below if you have taken Smoke's game with this exact setup, stepping up the power and stretching out the distance. We arrive at number 4. The Reximex Daystar completely throws out the traditional rulebook when it comes to barrel stabilization. Instead of using a heavy integrated shroud, this platform is built purely for extreme precision. Tipping the scales at a descriptive placeholder pounds, it is a dedicated target rig. Spitting a descriptive placeholder caliber lead downrange, it pushes a descriptive placeholder foot-pounds of kinetic energy. Pulling the trigger blade, it snaps like biting into a crisp green apple. Because they remove the sound suppression, the firing cycle sounds exactly like a loud pneumatic nail gun driving into hardwood. You can expect about a descriptive placeholder shot count from its descriptive placeholder CC air cylinder. Let us look at the specialized air delivery hardware at the muzzle. This rifle utilizes a custom machined air stripper instead of a standard silencer. When the projectile leaves the rifling, a blast of highly turbulent high-pressure air follows right behind it. The air stripper features internal cone geometry that physically vents that dirty air away, preventing it from kicking the tail of the pellet. By removing that turbulence, it completely stabilizes the flight path and drastically tightens up your groups at long distances. But you need to be warned about a major annoyance with the factory accessories. The rotary magazines for this platform are incredibly stiff and gritty right out of the box. When you are trying to cycle the side lever quickly for follow-up shots on fast-moving pests, it feels like it is binding up. You have to put a serious brake and period on those magazines before they actually feed smoothly in the field. Moving right along to number 3, we are stepping into the heavy hitters with the Reximex Apex. This rig is built for guys who demand serious downrange authority. Spitting descriptive placeholder caliber lead toward the target, it pushes a massive descriptive placeholder foot-pounds of kinetic energy. Squeezing the trigger blade on this platform, it breaks like snapping a dry chicken bone. The muzzle report sounds like slamming a heavy steel door in an empty concrete room. Let us look under the hood at the air delivery mechanics. This rifle utilizes a descriptive placeholder CC air cylinder paired directly with an Advanced Balanced Valve System. Instead of the hammer fighting entirely against the raw, high-pressure air, the balanced valve uses internal air channels to equalize the pressure on both sides of the valve stem. Because it uses the gun's own air pressure to assist the mechanical strike, you get incredibly consistent valve open times and absolutely zero hammer bounce. That makes it an absolute tack driver when you stretch out the distance. Taking this out into the woods, it tips the scales at descriptive placeholder pounds. You can expect roughly descriptive placeholder full power shots per fill. But we have to talk about the massive deal breaker on this specific model. The factory stock design has a serious ergonomic flaw when it comes to the grip angle. It forces your firing wrist into an unnaturally steep and uncomfortable position. If you are sitting in a hunting blind waiting for pests for hours, your hand is going to cramp up. You will find yourself constantly breaking your stance to shake out your wrist, and that is going to cost you opportunities in the field. Entering the elite tier, we are looking at number 2. The Reximex Throne Generation 2 is the ultimate playground for tuners. Slings 2.5 cal slugs with almost 39 foot-pounds of terminal energy, tipping the scales right around 8 pounds. You can run this platform in either a standard or a compact configuration. Squeezing that trigger blade, it snaps like stepping on a brittle pine cone. The firing cycle sounds like dropping a heavy steel plate into wet mud. Commanding a price tag that heavily undercuts the major players, it features massive 25mm dual pressure gauges that make reading your air levels incredibly easy in the field. You feed it using a high-contrast yellow rotary magazine that instantly tells you when the gun is empty, so you never take a blind dry fire shot at a pest. Listen, here is where the engineering gets ridiculous. It utilizes a fully interchangeable caliber system paired directly with an 18cc pre-chamber. Instead of being stuck with one bore size, you can manually swap the barrel, the pellet probe, and the magazine to jump from 177 right up to 2.5 cal on the exact same action block. Hunters also get 3 external tuning points: the regulator pressure, the hammer spring tension, and a transfer port dial. By turning that transfer port dial, you physically restrict the air column for quiet backyard target practice, and then open it wide for maximum airflow when you need to take down tough game. But let us be completely honest about its air consumption habits. If you open that transfer port all the way up and max out the regulator to push heavy JSB jumbo monster pellets at nearly 700 feet per second, this thing becomes an absolute air hog. You will drain that 425cc aluminum bottle extremely fast. Shooters have to be prepared to pack a heavy external fill tank if they want to stay out in the woods all day. Closer to the crown, we finally arrive at number 1. The Reximex Meta Premium is the absolute pinnacle of tactical bullpup engineering. It takes the throne because it gives you the massive high-capacity air volume of the Acura Carbon at number 4, but delivers it inside a highly adjustable extreme-range bench rest chassis that completely embarrasses the NYX Compact at number 3. This platform was born specifically to launch heavy slugs at insane distances. Throws 2.5 cal heavy lead with an absolutely massive 45.6 foot-pounds of kinetic energy. Squeezing the trigger, it snaps like biting into a frozen carrot. The muzzle report sounds like a heavy sledgehammer striking a solid rubber tire. The physical footprint is definitely beefy, tipping the scales at 8.6 pounds. But that bullpup layout shoves the center of gravity right back against your shoulder for perfect balance on a shooting bag. Under the hood, this beast utilizes a gigantic 90cc power plenum paired directly to a 480cc carbon fiber bottle. Instead of cranking up the internal regulator pressure to extreme levels, that massive plenum holds a huge volume of air ready to instantly release. Because it uses high volume at a lower pressure limit, It requires significantly less hammer force to crack the valve open, which completely eliminates valve lock. That smooth valve operation prevents harmonic vibrations from shaking your optic while the projectile is traveling down the 27.5-inch precision rifled barrel. Looking at the ergonomics, you get a 3-axis adjustable butt pad and a built-in rear monopod. Lock that rear monopod down with a front rail bipod, and you create a rock-solid 3-point stance that completely deletes your pulse from the crosshairs. Shooters in the field are taking this exact rig out to 410 yards and still accurately impacting targets. That wraps up the top 7 most underrated Turkish air platforms for 2026. The industry landscape is shifting massively right now, and the days of overpaying for a European status symbol are officially dead. These rigs are delivering heavy-hitting terminal ballistics and massive air volume at a fraction of the cost. If you want the raw truth without the marketing fluff, lock it in right here.